Gender stereotyping is assuming what someone likes or does in their free time, just depending on what their gender is.
Gender stereotyping to me would be when there are certain expectations for a male or certain expectations for a female, such as the female cooks for the family, the male is the breadwinner, etc.
Okay, gender stereotyping is when you place a label on like a male or a female, like just based off their gender. That sounded so stupid.
An example of this would be if you see a car on the side of the road that obviously needs a tire changed, or they have a flat tire problem, then you would assume that a man would stop and help them, not a female, because it's car related and muscle related, I guess, to where you would assume that a man would stop and help the female.
Gender stereotyping is setting a certain activity or job or something to a specific gender.
Is generally a bad stereotype against a certain gender, whether it's male or female, generally more female than male.
I wouldn't say that gender stereotyping is a major problem, but it's definitely something that we need to be aware of because imposing your thoughts of what people should be like is very impactful on people and who they are.
I think it's a major problem because as a woman, I find I'm gender stereotyped a lot. Like, for example, like guys will say like, oh, she doesn't know much about like football and stuff like that because she's a girl. But actually, I mean, even though I don't know much about football, no, yeah.
I don't necessarily think it's bad if, a guy is at the gym or a girl is looking good or something, but definitely if you're meaning it in a negative connotation, I would consider it a major problem.
Yes, I think it depends on the context, but I think in terms of jobs, gender stereotyping is a thing, especially in STEM fields with women. You don't really see a lot of women in that, and I don't know if gender stereotyping would be the main reason for that, but I think it definitely contributes to that.
Who hasn't? And in today's society, I would say I definitely have.
I have experienced gender stereotyping because I worked in the dining hall at camp and I got a lot of good, a woman in the kitchen jokes, which isn't funny. And also because I'm in health science, which is also a predominantly female major, and I get some cracks about not being exceptionally different there also.
I don't personally feel like gender stereotyping has affected my life. I mean, I've done a lot of typically gender stereotyped male things growing up. I played basketball, did ROTC in high school. I played a supposedly masculine instrument in marching band and was in a male-dominated section. But I also did dance and cheerleading, typical girl roles growing up, so...
I have experienced gender stereotyping, and I believe in some ways we all do. As a female, it's easy because just because I'm a girl doesn't mean I don't like learning about cars or I don't enjoy like woodwork and building things. So it's all sort of like implemented into our society that I think we all sort of experience it at some point.
Yeah, I have. Like, as a female, a lot of guys assume that I don't know much about sports. Not directly.
I've experienced gender stereotyping at school. In high school, when I didn't do well on a science exam or a math exam, I remember hearing, oh, it's fine, you're a girl, you're good at English, that's enough, like, it's fine. It's not fine. It didn't challenge me to be better than some of the boys at science and math, It wasn't expected of me, so it didn't challenge me.
I did experience gender stereotyping in school, mostly when I got more near the end of elementary school and early middle school, because I was much of a tomboy. But you start wanting to fit in with friends and making your place and with your peers, and so I feel like school is where I really experienced gender stereotyping the most.
Well, it's affected my life because I feel like I'm not able to do the things, like a lot of things that I want to do that are like stereotypical guy things. Like, for example, like join in a football game with some of my guy friends. I feel like they would think that I'm like not knowledgeable on the subject of football when actually I do know some stuff about football. And it's kind of upsetting because like I really like playing football, but like, they just assume that I'm a girl and don't know how to play or don't know anything about it.
It can be very bad for not just mental health or anything like that, but just the overall beings of characters that you're gender stereotyping if it's in a negative connotation.
Gender stereotyping mostly impacted my life at a young age because we're more easily influenced, and I feel like that goes for all of us. So, while it does affect your life, I feel like as you get older, it's not as much of a big deal.
Most people knew what gender stereotyping was, which I think is really good that people have like this base knowledge of what gender stereotyping is. And I think that's because it's become a major like talking point today that people are always talking about like are toys too gender stereotyped and that sort of thing. So it is good that they have this baseline of what it is. A lot of people, or a couple of people, talked about STEM fields and how females are discouraged from being in the STEM fields, which is something that we have talked about. My one friend said that one of her teachers said that it was okay that she wasn't good at science as long as she was good at English, applying that because she was a girl, it was okay that she wasn't very good at science, which could contribute to some females not getting included in these STEM fields or not participating in these STEM fields, and really demonstrates that we as educators need to push for STEM fields for females and provide opportunities for females to get involved in STEM fields that they may not have otherwise because people are always pushing them away from these fields. And it's really important that females are in these fields. Another thing that I thought was interesting was that a lot of people didn't say how gender stereotyping had affected their life. And I think that may be because people don't know how to live in a world that is not gender stereotyped, just because so much of their life is gender stereotyped that they don't actually know how it's affected their life because it has affected so much of their life.